everybody, Tice Watts here, Enticeorphic Wisdom. I'm here to hopefully entice you guys a little bit to study some wisdom. That's my job. A lot of people have been joining this library here that I've created, and I appreciate you guys because it shows me that there's not just me out there looking to find a deeper truth in this plastic reality that we've come to all love and enjoy. A few things we'll just start off with is I would just like to let everyone know that yes, I do love Jesus Christ. He is my homie. Straight up, ain't no doubt about that. A lot of people like to speculate that he's just allegory and never existed because there isn't any proof. Well, I'm just going to put it down like this. There isn't any proof because those in power don't want there to be proof. There was large measures created to make sure there was no proof. And then when his story did not die because he was too popular, they found a way to turn him into their mascot. And they told everyone, hey, unless you use this guy, you are one sinful son of a bitch and you can't ever achieve your relationship with God or understand the oneness that is you and God. But if anyone ever actually paid attention to his teachings, whether he be real or not, the teachings are the exact opposite of what the Old Testament says. He teaches everybody that we are all sons and daughters of God, all part of Source. We are all one. He teaches that we can do greater things than even he. And he said through faith. Well, the reason why he kept telling people to have faith and use faith is because faith is a loophole. It's a way of pulling someone's intent from their heart space and giving them a quick route. Instead of somebody having to find it in themselves and push it out, they have something they can cling to that lights their heart on fire and makes it passionate. Now this is something, a bit of symbolism you'll see inside many churches and Bibles or other books. You'll see Jesus sitting there with his fingers holding a little heart with a crown on it and thorned and stuff. And this is a giant metaphor in itself for the burning heart and the passion of Christ. No matter how hard he was thorned, he still was able to stay centered in his heart space, show the world love, understand their situations of unknowingness, and how he loved people regardless. He said, love your brother. Love your neighbor as your brother. Love your neighbor as your mother and father. And he didn't just mean this in any strict sense. He meant literally that we are all one. You love each other and help each other grow. The more we do this, the more we grow as a fucking planet and society. And, you know, I'm not sorry for my profanity because, you know, these shocking words, you know, sometimes might help beat it into your brains. I really feel, and when I say I really feel, I mean I really feel that what I have just told you here is truth. And I'm sure if you look through the history and how things went down, you will see that I'm not wrong. You will also see some other things that they just don't embellish on or even direct your attention to in these books, such as the fact that Jesus may have been born Jewish blood. I don't know if there's any proof of that, but he definitely was not Jewish at first, in any sense. He was swept away from his parents because of the first killing of the firstborn sons. And he was taken by the wise men to Egypt, in which he was taught the same sciences and mysticism as Moses. And that was Zoroastrianism. So here we find the difference between Phoenician and Zoroastrianism. See, Phoenicia, they turned into Canaan, and then later into Sicily and whatnot, and also Turkey and Iran. The whole area over there was Phoenicia. Well, sorry, I'm driving in heavy traffic while it's snowing. Bear with me. Moses and Jesus both knew Zoroastrianism. And in the history, it shows that Moses led his people for 40 years in the desert, walking circles. One could only assume he was trying to manifest this promised land. But he died before he ever made it, leaving all the information of the sacred geometry that he had written on his heart, according to the Jewish text and the Masonic book, the Masonic library. Left all his sacred geometry and wisdom to his children by word of mouth. And then the children decided that, hey, we can't find this promised land. We're going to call it Canaan. We're going to go to Canaan. We're just going to topple their buildings with the technology Dad left us. And, well, then we are going to take it over. Well, through a little time, it states in the Masonic library, the book, it's literally a book called Masonic Library. It states that they lost their way. They didn't understand the technology or the geometric spirit science, whatever you want to call it. They didn't understand how to build, basically. So, along comes a guy named Hiram Abiff. Hiram apparently retaught them the skills of the builders. So this Hiram Abiff guy is essentially the head of the Masons, and where it comes from, where their wisdom comes from, their line of knowledge. And everything from that point on then got merged into a, how can I say, Phoenician form of Judaism. All the pagan holidays, all of that, and the Parushi, which are known as Pharisees in the Bible, the Phoenician Parushi, which means detached ones, they worship Baal. Baal is in the Key of Solomon and in many other places known as the First Fallen. He was the king of Phoenicia, the Gut, and he required constant test of loyalty and sacrifices, but taught humans sciences and geometry, and was considered God. this man is known to most original Judaic Jews as Satan, also been dubbed Lucifer. Now, in history, there have been many people who have done the ritual of the morning star and take on the title of morning star because that is the bringer of the light, the one who brings information and wisdom and, moves society to their next agenda, or the next step. I mean, what kind of godlike person wouldn't want that, so here we have many people throughout history taking the ritual of the morning star and being born under the right sign and all this. And to this date, nobody really knows why Satan's the morning star or Jesus is the morning star. They just keep saying, oh, they're the same person, yin and yang, God duality, And that is one okay way to look at it, because, in many religions at this point, if you are going to go purely allegorical, yeah, Jesus, if he is God, then he is yin and yang, because God is yin and yang, created everything. He was the first source energy, the very first source energy that vibrated and set off a chain of command of vibrations throughout all of eternity, for eternity. And as that vibration withered, it made different vibrations, each of those creating different things, starting with the elements. The elements also changed vibrations of everything, and this is the start of our creation. Whether it started with God going Om, or a big bang, or him just going Achoo, doesn't really matter. But in a frequency or vibration, there is always two sides. Bam, bam. Up and down. Now, from what we can perceive from our stance in the vibration and where our Goldilocks conditions lied, and we all fell into a physical form, Source is the highest vibration that we can achieve in our perspective. However, there are higher vibrations, because when he made his sound, the vibration went up and down. He is here, his vibration went up and down. We lie somewhere here. We have been fallen from his energy to a physical form. Now, since we are fallen and we are detached from his grace, or the whole, we feel a constant need to better ourselves, to reattach. But Source won't allow that to happen, because he needs, or she, or it needs this system to continue on regardless. This system of evolution through struggle. This system is what will create another being, or beings, that can perceive Source as Source is. Now, you could subscribe to the Bible's version of why. Like, why does Source need someone to perceive Source? Well, the Bible says he was lonely and needed a homie. This very well could be. If you're God and nothing else existed, why wouldn't you get a little lonely and need a homie? Anything you make, you tell to do what it does, and honestly, from my point of view, it'd get quite bullshit-like. I mean, plastic is all hell. So why wouldn't you try to create something that you don't have control of, that can eventually perceive you as you are? A counterpart, if you will. So, in that essence, I mean, technically anything fallen is the opposite of source. It is up to us to choose whether or not we want to embellish and live our lives in a lower physical reality, or if we want to connect to a higher being. Now, yeah, I just said that we're probably never going to be able to achieve oneness completely and, you know, just departicleize back to source without actually dying. But at some point, through technology or understanding of vibration and atomic frequency, we may be able to evolve to a point where we can become light. And then as we are light, we essentially would be so so high of a frequency, I guess, that we would be able to perceive source. One could only assume that the beings of history who have come to us as beings of light, claiming that they are messengers of God, have done the same previously. One can assume that due to the text of history in the ancients, that some figured it out through technology, and some may have figured it out through introspection and evolution. I reference you to the different deities holding bags and different wands for the technology. And I reference you to the beings with different vehicles and chariots for the technology. And then I reference you to the beings of angelic whatnot, or even some of the Hindu gods as ones who figured out through evolution or introspection. The science of frequency and sound and whatnot is called somatics, and I've been studying it quite heavily lately and understanding it as good as I can and relating it with alchemy as well as religion. And I feel like I've figured it out, and that everything, no matter how solid you think it is, isn't solid at all. We are all just different density of elements swimming through other density of elements, all with different frequencies. And it just so happens living beings, or what we like to call biological beings, are multi-frequency beings. You know, our blood, our bones, every piece of us is a different frequency. And we're still put together, but we're not quite physical. Like, we can't even touch ourselves. That's a positive and a positive pushing away from each other, and your sense is just telling you that you're touching, because you're not. That's all frequency. Our lives reality, our perspective of what is real is all based on biological tools we were given that can perceive so much of the spectrum of our frequency that we fell into in the Goldilocks conditions. Those of you who don't understand what Goldilocks conditions means, it's not too hot, not too cold, sat right in the middle so as to be able to make a perfect alchemical factory to constantly sustain life and evolution. And that is the planet and the reality that we have fallen into. It's literally a miracle and magic that we even exist. With that being said, all things being done is magic. All thoughts, every time you speak, move your hand, anything you do is magic and has a ripple effect. Just as the ripple effect happened when God spoke and created reality. Now, what do we do with this information? How do we harness it, manipulate it? How do we see things for what they really are? Instead of looking at this world through what most could consider broken eyes. You know, a lot of people talk about the third eye and how we need to open up our third eye and stuff, and you know, I mean, and people are trying as hard as they can. But before they do that, they need to fix the eyes that they have, the ones that are broken. Because when people become woke or wake up to what is, they start seeing all the destruction and death and horror of this reality. And a lot of people get thrown into a depression. And all of a sudden, you see all these memes all over Facebook saying, you know, it's not you who's fucked up, it's the reality, you know, and, you know, you're not meant for this world. Well, that's a lie. You were meant for this world. Those of you who see and who feel that are the ones who were meant to overcome it. This is your test. This is to see if you're the one who's gonna bitch out because, well, ain't nobody around can see, or if you're gonna walk the walk and show everyone until they can see. So once you wake up and you see all the evils of this world, it is officially your job to rise above that and start showing people how to be better. Stop feeding your lower chakras and living in the physical realms with drugs and sex. Start feeding your higher chakras with creativity, arts, passion. You know, there's two sides to every coin, just as there's two sides to every color, two sides to every being. Duality is a thing. For instance, the color red. I say this a lot. It's the easiest to explain to people. It invokes passion. It invokes both anger and love, both of those driven by passion. Now, every color along the spectrum has their own. And it all depends on the shades you use as well. Or even patterns. And you can study this getting into Feng Shui. Now, all of this, magic, runes, summoning, all of that is an ancient technology that was taught to primitive minds who was shown how to use it but didn't understand why and couldn't. I mean, if you explain to them that we're made of a bunch of different atoms that you can't see, only one person out of a million would actually be able to fathom that. To explain how energy runs through things, all of that. I mean, none of that would even be fathomable, which is why they had to use ideas such as gods and elementals and stuff like that. And down through the stories, these things became more story and allegory to teach good morals, which is great, by the way, than it was to actually understand a science. Then later, manipulated for power, and now we're coming back around 360 fold, you know, and we're moving back into the science of it all. And scientists are starting to agree with most Buddhists and whatnot that exactly what Alan Watts said. Everything in this reality is attributed to sound. Just because you can't hear it doesn't mean it's not happening. Your biological tools may not hear it. Dogs will, though. Bats might. How else do you think sonar works? We all live in different spectrums, different perspectives, and our perspective gives us the spectrum in which we base our reality on. So if your spectrum's here, you're living here. If your spectrum's here, you're living here. You know, if your perspective is here, you're only going to see this. If your perspective's here, you're only seeing this, you know. And no two people will have the exact view or spectrum. So we're all living in a different but similar reality. And your view determines your attitude, your perspective determines your reality. Which is why when you know you're poor and you crave for more and you're constantly hoping to get more, you never get it unless you work your ass off for it, because you are accepting your position. Those who fake it till you make it, a lot of those people never really understood why that works. Let me understand myself and help you understand right here and now how this works. When you say, I love myself, whether you do or not, eventually you start. And I've done this experiment. Back in the day when I was on all sorts of drugs and drinking Sparks and taking Xanax for a cheap buzz and staying out all night spray painting trains and whatnot, I would tell people this all the time. I fucking love myself. No matter whether I did something good or I fucked something up, you know, I would push you, oh fuck, shit, I love myself. You know, I'm such an imbecile, you know, whatever. And at first it felt awkward and I was nervous doing it. And I didn't really. I hated who I had become. Everything I was doing because I was angry inside and had no guidance. Over a period of saying I love myself and doing this in front of people, you know, I actually grew to love who I was, and I became a person of love. And it changed my whole perspective. That simple ritual, creating new neural pathways in your brain. And that's what ritual is. Ritual is literally creating an environment in which to manifest the intent that you desire. So, now we get into how both ritual and spiritual magic works. Spiritual magic is harnessing it inside yourself in your heart space. It's when I talked about faith earlier, how it's a loophole through having to figure out your strength in your heart and manifest it your own. You're having faith that someone's already going to do it for you of a higher power, and you just believe it so heartedly that, well, fake it till you make it done worked. Now, as I said, ritual is creating an environment in which makes your brain make those neural pathways to process that it worked and that it's working. Now, to do both is to become fucking powerful, because you are now both using your lower chakra energies and your higher chakra energies and centering them and becoming the Star of David. If you look at your chakras, if you were to center those upon each other, squish it down, what does it make? Star of David. That is a centered being in control of all of their chakras. The Merkaba that your spirit resides in. The vehicle of the soul. Now, am I telling you guys I have all this mastered? Am I telling you that, I can manifest things like this? Well, did I? No. But I can say that when I put my heart and mind to it, it comes easy. And it can for you too. Just like this group did for me. I don't think you guys realize it, but I manifested you as you manifested me. We needed each other. And our collective consciousness is what created this. And I thank you for being part of it. And I hope that everything I've said here today can help enlighten you. But make no mistake that the quest for wisdom and enlightenment is a dangerous one. For there are many paths out there promising you wisdom and knowledge and sacred this and sacred that. They will have a hierarchy that you have to walk through, and rules, regulations, laws that you have to abide by to make it there, to even learn these things. And in the end, all they're going to teach you is a watered down version of what I just said. So make no mistake, anyone preaching that you have to do that is a follower of Lucifer, Satan, and someone who is only out there to steal your energy in a quest for power. There have been groups out there that have tried teaching the world, and I will attest that the Masons were one of the first. And I did get most of my information by spying and learning from them. And a lot of you guys, how did you spy on the Masons? Well, this is where I'm just gonna brag my horn and say I'm fucking ninja, guys. I'm not gonna give my secrets away, but just know I have a stack of books this big that are from the lodges, and I've translated them, took the time to read them, even in their codes that they have, using pigpen cipher as well as just initials for titles. It's not as confusing as one might think. Again, all I was a lonely drug addict with no father. Somebody put my head and my heart together and figured it out. I stayed non-biased the whole time. I figured out that the Illuminati is just a side group of Masons. It started out to be a book club, and they just used that book club to find other like-minded Masons that wanted to take over the world, who just happened to believe that certain beings are above others, and that the majority of humans are too dumb to be able to govern ourselves. They literally believe that the most of us are cattle. And I won't lie, from what most of this world has shown me, and the fact that when you wake up and you see all the fucking horrors of the world, I half-ass agree with them. But I don't think that means that we should take over the world and fucking just treat other people like cattle. I believe that in order to solve that problem, we need to stop holding what's sacred secret and teach everybody from childhood the sciences and the morals. And I will give credit to certain people, even corrupt people, for doing so. I will straight up say Disney has done a lot of good for the world in this area. Probably to repent for all the bullshit he did. So, I don't like to judge people, but I do see where people have gone and done bad things. People have done good things, and we're all fucking human. And as Jesus taught, I will forgive. I may not forget, but I will forgive. Because when I get to the pearly gates, I'm not going to be holding fucking grudges, and I'm not going to put myself in hell because I am a judgeful asshole. Because that's not who I'm going to be. I am love. I am light. I am harmony. So are you. And the sooner you accept that, and the sooner you understand that you are a piece of harmony, a piece of God, a piece of the source energy that's within all things, only it's pretending it's not, so that way it can have this experience, and it can experience all things in a single moment that only is perceived to last forever by those stuck within the system, that's only perceived to be chaos by those who cannot see the bigger picture. The sooner you accept that, the easier your life is going to be. Now I'm going to sign off on this video with one last word of advice. And that is, try not to let this world trigger you, because everything you come in contact with is a test. Everything. And everything is slightly different than you. And somewhere along that difference, you're going to find something directly different than you. And you're not going to like it. But you have to accept that that in itself is still a part of you. That is your yin to your yang. And if you let it trigger you, you have not done what's quote unquote called shadow work. Now I implore you to take what I've said and put it into practice. And the next video that I put out, I will teach you how to increase your intent and increase your manifesting abilities with super overlooked simple steps. Again, my name's Tice Watts. There's only one of me in this world. Codename Enticed-Orphic Wisdom, because that's what I hope I do for you. Love you all. Have a great Thanksgiving.